Okay, call the meeting to order for the Communications and Technology Committee. Roll call.
Jean Vogel,
Here.
Derek Denise,
Here.
Paul Bookman,
Here.
Paul Casarelli,
Here.
Jim Mitchke,
Here.
and Stephen Tahalski is excused.
Yes. Public participation. Anyone?
Mary Gilbert. Mary Gilbert.
Hi, Mary. Anyone else want to introduce themselves that happen to be here?
Kevin Voss, Door County Broadband.
Pam Voss, Door County Broadband.
Thanks for coming.
Mhm.
I'll have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Approve? In favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 4th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's how fast we get to new business, Kevin. So take it away, Door County Broadband, Kevin Voss.
Okay. First off, thank you for having us come. It is a joy being here, and it's been a crazy year, and we're very happy with the progress we're making. However, it's been a doozy. Anyway, give you a little bit of background in Door County Broadband. We were founded in April of 2014 when my wife and I relocated here and retired here and did not have internet, which they didn't tell us. And once we realized we didn't have it, it was an issue of moving or fixing it. And having spent 35 years as a commercial real estate developer and business owner, I fix things. So this was a fix. We created Door County Broadband April of 14, starting with less than 700 customers, and we've now had over a fourfold increase in 6 years, as well as a 10x increase in just bandwidth being provided. Our focus is providing internet to rural portions of Door and recently Kewaunee County, and that came about because we were having Door County residents in southern Door that couldn't get internet, and the locations that we were finding for sites happened to be in Kewaunee, and we could then just, because it doesn't make radio waves, don't care about county lines. And I'm sorry about this thing, it keeps coming down, so I apologize. So, long and short of it, we are basically predominantly in Door and Kewaunee. Most of it is in Door, with about, I'd say, about 15% of our customer base, our sub-base, is in Kewaunee County. Currently, we have 10 transmission sites serving the town of Sevastopol. Kind of the exact same thing as we were mentioning about the county setup between the counties. A certain number of them are actually in the town of Sevastopol. The rest of them are around it, but are able to broadcast into the residents of Sevastopol. The capacity along Bayshore area increased last week by a factor of 10 via a deployment of a new product called Medusa, which is a product that Cambium has come out with. And Cambium is a carrier grade vendor that we use. Their equipment is basically the best of the best. And Medusa is their top of the line, best of the best, from the best of the best. We had been using their what was at that point their first tier product until Medusa came out, and we deployed Medusa just recently, and it has basically increased our capacity tenfold. Our business philosophy is designed around the customer, not Door County Broadband. And the reason we do that, being very frank with you, is me. I am probably the most difficult person to satisfy because I'm very demanding in business. I've been doing this since I was 26 years old, and I know you can't tell it with my blonde hair, but I'm 62. So I've been doing this since I was 26, and it's something where we have had a company philosophy for that length of time, which is we demand perfection and settle for excellence. And we're doing the same thing at Door County Broadband, but what we bring to the table is a little bit different. I'm not a geek. I understand about 20% of what my geeks tell me. I don't need to understand what they're saying. That's their job. My job is to make sure it's good for people like you and me. So I don't want to hear the geek mumbo jumbo about we're doing this thing. It's, do I have signal and why is it not working? So they have to put up with me, all right? And as my wife will probably jump in and agree with, I'm nails, because if I'm not happy, it means I have a customer that in all likelihood is not happy. And our staff laughs at the fact that our bar at Door County Broadband, every time we get to it, I keep raising it. They're going to try and take my nail gun away because I keep taking it down and moving it up to try and do business, to be able to try and raise our business level. So our goal is to cover as many residents with core towers and smaller infill towers versus what a lot of the other guys that come in and do, they put in a bunch of big towers, not a bunch, they put in 3 or 4 big towers, and they will, from those big towers, anywhere 2 to 3, 4, 500 feet, they'll then say, well, if you can see us, we can also give you some level of broadband. Well, the kicker is most of these organizations are funded from the cell tower side. That's why they only need 3 or 4 of them. They're coming in and putting up these beasts of towers that are massive. Our towers, our big guide towers are a whopping 14 inches wide. Literally not much bigger than the width of this sheet of paper. As opposed to, there are other towers that when you get to them, their bases are 25, 30, 35 feet wide, and they're massive. Because they're being built for the cell industry, which can pay $300,000, $350,000, $400,000, and then, oh, by the way, we might be able to do some broadband as a piggyback. We don't do cellular. We don't build our towers to do cellular. We build them for broadband, which is probably why we were voted in 2019 in the top 3 fastest fixed wireless providers in Wisconsin, as well as the top 10 fastest internet providers in Wisconsin in the small provider category. We didn't even know we were nominated for this. We didn't even know we won until we got a call from the newspaper, the Advocate saying, hey, congratulations, and we're asking why. Well, they then shared us with these awards, and I said, we don't know anything about them. And so we called them, and they just said, you have a lot of nominations, and here you are. And for the entire state of Wisconsin to have a 6-year-old broadband company be able to come from where we came from to get to here, I'm very proud of that fact. And that the company that did this is a company called Broadband Now. I didn't know who they were either, because that's not why we do this. We do this basically to build a broadband network so that people like you and me can live up here. You've probably heard our ad. Some people have, some haven't, but it's literally designed around live, work, play, Door County Broadband. I have done every radio ad built on that since the day we were founded, because I don't want people just to come play here. I want them to be able to live here. I want them to be able to work here. So a very interesting side note on that is now with COVID going on, we had, in a normal year, we can count on X number of installs. And it's usually consistent pretty much year in, year out. We're growing 25% year over year. We had more requests for internet in a 90-day period than we have in any given year since the day we started. We are right now, we've got guys, tell you what, we've had to outsource to bring people in to help us do this. We got guys that are working their tails off. They're doing 50, 60 hours a week, and they have been, because we never shut down during COVID because we're deemed an essential service. And it was important to us that we maintain what it is we do. So we live here, we work here, and we play here. That's why some people have commented, why don't we make our staff work on holidays? Well, because they're entitled to a holiday too. They live here also. So these are things that are very critical to us as people that live here. We don't come up here from Green Bay. Home is 15 minutes north of here. We have worked previously with some folks in Sevastopol to try and expand internet into it. The latest was with Jim Nellen, a delightful man. I enjoyed talking with him. We just couldn't get any traction on the whole thing. Town wasn't previously interested in partnering with Door County Broadband. We had all the broadband grants that came up. And the county, and Ken Pabick is a delightful man, and he and I have chatted endlessly about the broadband ordinance that they passed, a tower ordinance that was passed. And literally, and they were wondering, how come all the towns are opting out of it? And I said, well, you'll have to ask them. The answer they came back was because our people need internet. So by population, 67% of Door County is not governed by the county tower ordinance. And that is where we are spending the bulk of our time, because we're not encumbered by an ordinance that was designed to stop us from doing what it is we do. And we are plenty busy. We are currently right now building, we currently have 6 towers that are under construction as we speak. We've got another 4 that are basically in the hopper to come in right behind it. And then we have 6 more that are rolling into Q1 of 2021. Hard part right now is finding tower manufacturers that can build that fast. We're now going from an in-stock product to an 8-week lead time to get in line to get a tower built. Now, we use a very specific tower. It's a rather expensive tower, but it's a very good solid leg tower that we use because you don't have to do anything to them once you build them. You don't have to worry about the fact that they're hollow leg and do you have water or anything going on. They're solid leg towers, so they're fantastic towers, along with capacity. Every site that we have in the Sevastopol and surrounding area was done basically pre-ordinance. So this ordinance that came in, all of them that serve Sevastopol at this point were done prior to this ordinance change. So what ends up happening is that we have towns that will say, well, why can't you just go through this? We aren't in the tower business, we're in the broadband business. So what ends up happening is somebody comes to me and says, here are the hoops we need you to jump through. We're gonna make these hoops a little onerous just because we wanna make them a little onerous. Our attorneys at Conway, Olenichik, and Jerry in Green Bay sat down and tried to reason with the county attorney and explain this, and his answer was, that we'll just see you in court if you don't agree with us. I'm not looking to go to court with anybody. We are so busy outside of all of this. This sounds very calloused. I don't need it. I mean, it's not like we're sitting around not doing anything. I mean, we're booked all the way into 2021 on tower builds, and we're booked all the way into Q4 for installations. We're not wanting for work. So our point is we go where we can work and we build as fast as we possibly can. Now, as you step into, oh, okay. As you look at what we have, this is a map that shows the 3 sites. So as you can see, you're highlighted of what town of Sevastopol is. And you can see the 7 sites around the perimeter that go outside of it that feed into it. In addition to this, what you're looking at, that is the existing 10 tower build that we currently have. Now, Jeannie mentioned a minute ago about tying something into the document that you all received a bit ago. Some of these, there's some redundancy, so I'll touch on the non-redundant points when we get to this. So in here, we basically identified the locations that are our current DCB sites we've got right now, and I'm glad to announce that I know there's a laser on here somewhere. There it is. Whoops. Doesn't work on the screen.
Well, that's good.
This site right here that's shown as future, that site that is shown as future that contract was executed this morning. It went through his attorneys approved this morning. That was and then we've been working on that for, 5 months. It was signed this morning. So what is shown there as a future site, it is a future site, but it's now a future build site. So the tower was ordered this morning, and that is what was the latest on, got back to different manufacturers? Do you know was that 12 weeks on that one? So that one, because it is a freestanding tower, is a 12-week lead as opposed to an 8. So that was ordered because we want to get that up as quickly as possible. What's critical is if you look at the location, it's Clark Lake.
Where is the physical location? I have it.
You have it on there? It is literally on the dot you're looking at. It is, I signed it, but I didn't pay attention to his address.
That's all right, just roughly. Right.
But it is he's right on the water, literally where that purple dot is. You see the purple dot? right?
Okay, I'm looking
Yeah.
at the red.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
That's, gotcha.
Yep, so it's right where Dan's, is right where the purple dot is.
Okay.
So, and this is a gentleman who moved there with the intent, he thought he had internet. And he said, I need your fastest speed. And we said, well, we've been trying to upgrade a tower there now for 4 years. And he said, I've got property, you can do it right here. So we went through attorneys, they did all their stuff back and forth, the folks at COJ for us and his folks, and we, like I said, came to both sides, got permission this morning to sign, which we did.
Are you putting the tower up?
We personally do not build, we have companies that do it for us.
Okay, but he did not,
No.
he's not building the
No,
tower?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, this is what we do, again, we're in the broadband business.
right.
So what we do is we engage companies that do this for us.
But, okay, I just want to clarify, it wasn't his tower?
No.
So this is replacing the site that's on the east shore, or east side of the lake currently.
That's the
You-
tower we can't touch.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So, and then now, if while we're on here, if you go literally, on this, basically the purple circle that I just mentioned, if you go about 3/4 of an inch below it, the other one, we'll come back to that, but that is a site that is town of Sevastopol land. And that is 4528 State Highway 57. Here's there's no screen. It's right where the dot is, that's the parcel that in the event the town was interested, that is a secondary site that would work well for us. There are towns that have said, we have town land, Baylor's Harbor's doing with us right now. If you can fit on town land and it helps, let us know. So if you guys need this, I can give it to you.
Where is this?
Is that near the,
Sorry, I don't know of any town land that we own that I don't. Oh, you're on Clark Lake.
Yes, we're still on
Oh,
Clark
this
Lake.
is the
Yeah.
park, this is the beach. That's what this is.
Okay, that's this dot, right? Whoops,
I don't have that.
you're on a, okay.
So Kevin, that's another site, that's
Yeah.
not the one on Clark Lake.
I'm sorry, I thought everybody had, I'm sorry, that's this one right there,
Okay.
okay? We should have had those printed, because we're on two different things. Okay,
That's, okay.
so if you need that, you can have it, I had them pull that for me. So that is a possible location for a site and then there is, while we're on it, there is a secondary one which we'll touch on later, so we stay on point. One of the things that we have seen is, for example, in the town of Nassawapi, they're very forward-thinking because they also have a huge internet issue there that we started with them 6 years ago and are now on our fifth and sixth transmission site with them. A couple of them are on town land. I think 2 or 3 are on town land. The rest of them are people that they know in the community who they said, we need something in the area. If you're interested, come see us. This was Steve. And he just said, hey, if you guys are, Steve Sullivan, if you're interested, come see me. He then forwarded them to us and we were able to come together and effectuate a transaction. While we have this up before I move on, so this other piece, this is the town parcel that I mentioned earlier that Dan has. There's another town parcel over here at the, probably easy, you might be able to describe it, because right there, it's on 57.
Oh, that's right at the triangle off of Whitefish and 57.
Right. There is,
Church Tower, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
that's a location that also, because of where it sits and what it does, would be very beneficial also. So you can keep those. Those are for, okay.
Can I back up for just a minute here?
Yes, sir.
Before we frame all this, I guess my question is I thought under the revision of Ordinance 14, that the constraints that you were placed under were pretty much erased. Maybe that's not the proper word, but I understand there were a variety of issues that came out of different committees and the Dora Economic Council, et cetera. And I thought one of the key ones was height, which they raised to, I think, 120 from 50, which was obviously very constraining.
Right.
What do you see as the 1 or 2 constraints that inhibit you today? Is it still the height?
No, believe it or not, well, the height, there's a qualified yes and no. The bigger issue comes down to it is this, and this is one of the biggest issues. That somebody comes to us and says, hey, I've got ground that I want to be able to put a transmission site on.
Right,
And they're doing it where I have to fall under fall zone criteria and all these different criteria, which means I have to do 100%, 110% of the height of the tower. Now, I have a farmer that wants me to, and I can use the board as an example. Farmer owns this large section, he's got 40 acres here, and he said, hey, if you want to put a tower over here, stick a tower over here, it'd be great, because I don't, it's kind of hard turning a tractor, so just do on the radius, stick it in the corner. Well, if it's a private tower just for him, I can put that thing anywhere as long as I don't cross a property line. Comma. If he then says, hey, my neighbor wants internet, we would get what's called a retransmission agreement, retransmit off of it, but all of a sudden, according to the county, that is now a commercial application, and it has to now be, so if it's a 190-foot tower, I have to be 190 feet plus 19 feet, call it 210 feet, from this property line, and this property line, so all of a sudden, I'm putting it now out in the middle of his field, because if it falls down, and this is the conversation we've had with planning and zoning, saying, this same tower could fall down right here too. And they say, but we aren't worried about it.
I thought, Kevin, that, I'm not trying to challenge, I'm
That's
just
right.
trying to understand. I thought that they had a waiver in there that would allow the property owner to waive that.
All the surrounding property owners. So we have to then go to all surrounding property owners that are in the fall zone and get everyone to sign off and say this is okay, that they're okay with the fact that this is not within the criteria. Now, this is all coming from my attorney because they're the ones that have gone round and round on this. And so the gist of it comes down to that from our perspective, we had said from day one, if we have the right to put up a transmission site, regardless of whether it's public or private, because we have people that in some respects are doing us a favor saying, you can put one right here.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm going to tell a farmer, well, I got to be out right in the middle of your section because all these fall zones and all this other stuff. I don't have to if you want it just for you.
Right.
So what's happening is that towns have said, well, this is ridiculous.
Right, and they've opted out.
And they've opted out. Basically, that is one of the biggest reasons. So what ends up happening is that, as Ken said, he said, I think we made some headway. But he said, we still have work to do. And our attorneys said the exact same thing. Nice effort, you didn't do much. Some of it sounds good, but you didn't take away the constraint that all of a sudden steps up, and now we have another problem. Because all of a sudden, I put a tower up on your site for you, and then your neighbors will go, oh my gosh, can I have this? Nothing changes to that tower.
Right.
You'll look at it today, you'll look at it in a week and go, nothing changed. But all of a sudden, it falls under a totally different ordinance. And I'm not gonna keep track of this stuff. And all of a sudden, one day it's right, one day it's wrong. It's just not worth it.
So if you were to categorize your number one issue as setbacks, because I understand so many of the other things were waived.
Some of them were.
Or gave you the ability to simplify the FFA, et cetera, a lot of guidelines, a lot of, I agree, stuff that was kind of bogus, but
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So the primary issue is one of setbacks from inhibiting your business model.
And the bifurcation of whether it's a personal tower or a
Right.
retrans site. All of a sudden, we're having to quantify, and my example I used with planning and zoning was, so let me get this straight. A person puts up a private tower for them. So Dan calls and says, hey, I went in there, puts up a private tower. Our attorney's thought process was, it's kind of like what happens in Door County when basically somebody builds a big old barn, heats a barn, and their neighbor says, hey, I'll give you $250, can I store my vehicle in there for the winter? And I said, all of a sudden, are they a commercial business? And the county's take, planning and zoning, was absolutely. I said, well, you just took down probably 5,000 barns in Door County, because everybody I know has a buddy storing something in someone else's barn, well, they shouldn't be. Well, but they do, okay? So you start having these things that all of a sudden make it so onerous. what it comes down to, if it's onerous, we're gonna do what isn't. And what isn't is, we're still 18 months out on bills, we don't have to worry about it.
That's fine.
And so.
I needed to understand, because depending on where we track as a town, we have to make a conscious decision to get out of it
Yes,
or not.
Right.
And eventually that conversation has to be had. So I just want to make sure I understood the primary fallback or.
but we
criteria.
will gladly have, basically, town council can reach out to our folks, because, I mean, they went through this in so much detail. It was literally, it got, the way it was put to us was, they put a little window dressing on the stuff and nothing basically happened, is the way it was explained to me, and I rely on, they've been our attorney since the day we got up here. So, from their end, you still don't have, and the way it was explained by, a supervisor was, 2/3 of the counties are, population-wise, is already out. It kind of harshes out the barn. You know, it doesn't make too much difference anymore.
Right.
You know, so we're building our business in these towns that have opted out.
Okay, I didn't
All
mean
right.
to waylay you. I
Yeah,
needed
no, that's
to
okay.
frame the conversation, so. okay.
That's quite all right.
Right.
So, this picture is the current, so there are these programs that we have, so this is what this does. Every tower that we put up, there's a subscription service that we belong to, that we pay for, that we build in, and we geolocate every transmission site, the height of this site, the location of our equipment on the tower, the height of it, and what it does, it propagates and lets us know where we have available service and how far it can reach. So this is currently what we have servicing Sevastopol as we speak. Now, what ends up being, there are two things that go along with this. This ties a little bit into the fact of there are holes that, if you, okay, this doesn't work. Highway 57, as we're coming up and down here, there is not a whole lot of coverage there. Also over on Glidden Drive, Charter basically has done a feed down 57 in Charter. Why would I go, there's already coverage there. What we do, we have a very simple company philosophy, is Charter and the big guys took the easy 75%. Our job is to do our best to do 80% of the remaining 25% that we can effectively serve. So our goal is literally 80-20 rule on both sides. 80%'s gone. In that 20%, we've built a business. Of that 20%, I want 80% of it. And how do we cover it? So if you take out Highway 57, and you take out where you go down Glidden Drive, to put redundancy of additional towers, why? I mean, there are so many people that don't even have service. Why would I go and basically come toe-to-toe with someone where there's already service? When everybody is served and we're bored out of our mind and want to put up some towers and go toe-to-toe with Charter, or Spectrum now, you know, trust me, we've got so much time before we get to there, it's scary. So my job is to do what you see us doing right there. Now, this is coverage with future sites. So these, if you look back and forth, this, you can see where the holes are. This is the tower we just signed, this green spot here. See how it's,
Yeah.
okay, whoops, I'm throwing away. So, new coverage, this is a new transmission site, this is a new transmission site. So literally, these are in builds right now. So all of this through here is all new. And that will be done at the, right now we're shooting for Q4, Q1 Q4, and then you know, Q1 of 21, depending on weather, it could be first half of 21. Okay, depending on weather and our guys.
Kevin, what's the difference between the lighter green and the darker green?
It's propagation from the antennas. It tells us how strong our signal is.
So it's signal strength.
Signal strength, correct.
Is it baud rate also?
I'm sorry?
Is it baud rate also?
You just went over my head. So I
Speed-
talked,
Speed.
You know how
Oh,
much-
speed, no.
You know how much a postcard, the postage on a postcard is? That was a
okay.
joke.
I'm gonna say, have me on that one too.
That was a joke.
So
Not
what,
very good.
so it basically, what we do is if we can't build a tower that allows us, with that Medusa radio I was telling you about, if we can't put up, and we do two types, Cambium's two top-of-the-line models. Medusa, if we've got a lot of coverage area to get into, we put the Medusa up. It's very expensive, but man, does it have some throughput, and can it handle a ton of subscribers? If I'm in an area that is lightly served, why am I gonna basically, you don't need an 18-wheeler to take groceries, home. You get the vehicle for what it is you need. So what we've done is we have rebuilt Door County Broadband it had a series of towers that were just kind of stuck everywhere. What we did is that we realigned our entire network to literally be that of like your spine. And those are our core towers. Those are typically 190-foot towers that are ours. They're built for us, and they're ours, and no cell services on them. We don't build them for cell. But that's like your backbone. And what we've done with that backbone, we now have 5 fiber feeds coming into these that literally are off-ramp and on-ramps, so that anywhere in that backbone, if something goes down, car accident or whatever that hits something goes down, we just do a simple reroute, go right around it, and we've got 5 different areas we can run that through. Those are our main core towers. Well, those main core towers then feed to a second tier, a little bit smaller tower, which we would call the ribs. And those ribs go down. That's the joy of this peninsula being in the configuration of what it is, because it basically is very linear. So we go down the middle. We have a literally fiber feed on both ends of this highway, so it can come either way, as well as 5 off-ramps and on-ramps elsewhere in there that we can work around everything. So we basically now have redundant feeds. We have more capacity coming through both ways, so now when that connection leaves your computer and goes out, it then gets routed to whatever fastest direction it needs to go to. If we're getting a ton of capacity here, it shoots you down over here, and this is all built into our software, which was incredibly expensive, but has been delightful because it takes away the manual switch over to anything. It's all automated. So from our take is that with this backbone and the spine setup and these branches, we branch off into areas that are more lightly served. And we'll put a smaller tower in with this other tower manufacturer that may only handle 20 people. We don't need to put that big hoss up. We just need to get in here, hit 20 people, and we've only done that 20 plus times. I mean, we've done it a lot. Because you've got people that live in little alcoves and little areas, whatever, that we don't need. We just need to be able to have the 2 towers see each other. If they can see each other, we have connection. And then that can distribute to that area. So that's the model that we build, because that allows us to, the best we can, serve as many people as possible. Now, you do have people that basically have chosen to live down the base on the water, below a bluff. That's topography. We have our vendor, our number 1 vendor, his company is based in North Carolina. He's a delightful man. And in a nutshell, his comment was, he goes, I have never seen a topography, because he's been with us from day one, as difficult as what you have in Door County, because you have flats, you have hills, you've got bluffs, you have trees. It's insane what you guys have to go through. And he basically congratulated us on, he says, boy, do you guys have some cool stuff in your toolbox. That's what you're being options. So what makes what we do different, the cellular world doesn't do that. The cell world comes in, drops in 3, 4 towers, tall ones, and says, as we're just laying off signal from one to the next, you're bouncing them all over and roaming and everything else. Ours are line of sight. We wouldn't be the 3rd fastest and in the top 10 providers by doing just those big towers and nothing else. So our model with this rebuild has been we have rebuilt our entire network in the last 6 years using this framework, and it's been great. So what does all that mean? It means a couple of things. Your choices are gonna be Charter, your choices are gonna be AT&T, Frontier has filed for bankruptcy, AT&T is your incumbent phone company. And as the incumbent phone company, that's just the guy they own the copper that's in the ground coming to your house. And they are not doing any, last we've heard, they are not doing, offering or expanding any more of their DSL. Cellular providers offer a little bit of infill, but their network is not designed or built to handle broadband capacity. They give you, we have a customer that called us that came from the cellular side of things, meaning that they had a MiFi. And he said, I think we got 20 gig a month. This is a redundant question. Do you know what the average user uses in broadband a month that has a good connection? The average user uses 280 to 300 gig a month. When you're capped at 20 to 50, that means that you get to wait till next month to watch the second half of your half-hour show because you're all used up. So from our perspective, what we're doing from a fixed wireless perspective is, that's why it's fixed wireless. Mobile carriers were built to hand off signal as you move around, okay, and it bounces off tower to tower to tower. Ours is designed to hit your home and stay and have a stable connection. So that is literally the gist of the PowerPoint presentation. The way it rolls into this document, which you guys received, I think, probably about a month ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch simply on what's in here that we didn't cover here. Because when we did this, we were just told, put something together and get it here, so we didn't know we were supposed to be here. We were just told we want to just reply, so we did just that, so I apologize. So our big core towers that I mentioned a little bit ago, I'm on the first page of this document. So, for you guys, I'm back on the first page of this. So what happens is that we generally, our big core tower, well, they're big to us, 190 footers. As our guys that build our towers for us, their favorite line when they first come up here is, those are cute little things. And these things compared to what they're on, these are toothpicks. And they laughed and they just said, good grief, these are small. But they work for us because our whole footprint fits in, like I said, it's a triangle. Each side's 14 inches for our 190-foot towers. We have them come up to our office in Bailey's. I built one in Bailey. We kind of have them all over. But they're kind of invisible because they're so small. We've had people tell us how obnoxious they are, and I asked them which ones they saw, and they said they didn't know where they were. And I said, well, why are they obnoxious if you don't even know where they are? You don't see them because we don't do the big, massive cell towers. We also cap our towers at 190 feet because at 200, you'd have to deal with the FAA. And under 200 feet, I don't want to light these things because I have friends who are in this industry for a long time. Number one complaint is the lights. And especially with the new LED lights, they're bright. Mm-hmm. And these people like they said, they have had more grief and they wish they never would have. One of the things that we do is we basically go on towers. If we have a main core tower and there's already a national provider in the area, we just go on their tower because we can sit at 395 or 400 feet to feed our core towers that are on our backbone. We feed them easy and it's done. And in point of comparison, which we'll step into in a minute, these are things where one of the things that's very important to me, it's not the fact that guys, I'm going to make this, as a commercial real estate developer, I'm a numbers guy. I've been a numbers guy. I've had a finance degree since me and Fred Flintstone, I think, were in class together back in the Stone Ages. But basically, I'm a finance guy, I'm a numbers guy, and it's just numbers are numbers. Whether it's rent or it's a note payment, it makes no difference to me. It's money in, money out. And if I can be on their transmission site 2 years earlier than building one, I'm serving more customers. We plow every single dollar. I've said this since the day we started, and I'm saying it again, it hasn't changed. We do not pull a dime out of our company in dividends to us. Every dime is reinvested back into growth. It's that simple. We want to grow and just grow and grow. This is what I did in the development business. I did it for 35 years. If deploying capital is what allows us to grow, and handle more customers. That's our intent, is to grow and handle more customers. So what we basically do is our goal is to build, well, I gotta remember I mentioned the Cambium Medusa. That's, the term carrier grade is critical for one reason. It's carrier grade for a reason. Reason one is it's extremely expensive, and reason two, it doesn't break, usually. And what it does, it has a signal that is designed for basically the best of the best quality and use. And we focus on that, and we literally rebuilt this entire company from a non-Cambium operation to a Cambium shop. Because what it does with your vendors and with your tower folks is that when you are a carrier grade WISP, which is what we are, we're fixed wireless. When you're carrier grade and they know you're in that league, they pay you a little special attention because you do the good stuff. And the good stuff is basically you don't cut corners. And we don't. And our staff knows that. So everything is all tied to the fact that we do the latest carrier grade CBRS radio. You've been hearing a lot of stuff come out about the CBRS. That's all the stuff coming out from the FCC. And so we are all part of that, using that bandwidth, as is everybody who can afford it is going to the CBRS-based providers. Two things are going to happen, and this is what bounces back and forth. So now I'm going to do a little bit of the Door County Broadband versus Bug Tussle. The presentation that Bug Tussle did in Kewaunee County was using Cambium's equipment that is a step or two down from Medusa. The problem is, if we're not going to stop doing what it is we do, and please don't take any of this the wrong way, and I know I have met Steve, I forgot his last name. I'm sorry?
Later.
Yes, Steve Schneider down at Bug Tussle, seems like a nice gentleman. We're not going to stop doing what it is we do. So what ends up happening is when you got two people using the exact same manufacturing of equipment, you've got noise. There's noise, and your customer suffers. And from our perspective, I kind of mentioned that with that going, this is kind of crazy, man. So basically you've got the exact same product competing with itself, as opposed to a lot of the other smaller shops will use a Ubiquity product, which we don't, because the Cambium, just as far as I'm concerned, it just is so far superior. But my concern is that potential interference issues. As we then step into, I'm going to roll to page 2, and top sentence we are so proud of. We recently installed 2 of the highest capacity CBRS-based access points, that's a Medusa, in Northeast Wisconsin. As well as we put on a high capacity licensed to microwave link. So what we do is every link coming from these core towers, these are licensed links with the FCC. The FCC says, this is your link. No one can go through it, no one can touch it, no one can interfere with it. That means that our network, our core, our backbone is secure, and that there's no one can interfere, including the cell carriers. They cannot interfere with our signal because we license everything we can. This equipment is the most robust platform currently available in the market from Cambium. One of these will predominantly serve the shoreline of Green Bay in the town of Sevastopol. These 2 additions went live in the last 2 weeks. This was dated the date of this letter. So this is now, we're probably about a month old now. And capacity, the utilization, I'd say 60 to 70% of our customer base over there has gone up in categories, 1, if not 2 entire levels, and are just tickled pink. And this will also then provide greater levels of service. And I apologize because I normally don't, you guys can read as well as I can. I don't read these things, but I want to make sure I go through and don't miss anything for this. So what we're doing is all the stuff that I told you about with Medusa and everything, this is what this described. And this is what we're describing right now. And it lets us have, with these little micro pops, you see the word in there, what that does. That's these little smaller transmission sites. We don't have to have these big hosses to come in and hit a little micro pop somewhere that just is going to handle half dozen people. If we have a transmission site, we've even used silos, where we can come off top of a silo and especially in Kewaunee, you hit a silo, bring the silo. It's a minor feed, but it does a half dozen people. And as long as it pencils, we're good to go. Current transmissions, we have we under contract with 2 owners that are held to provide coverage in the Sevastopol area. DCB will start construction as early as 21. That now just went to 3 as of this morning. You'll find those marked on the map, so that now so this is where we are tonight was newer. And just basically the last of it gets into, if Sevastopol wants to come into this is the one biggest thing. We don't look for a lot of money from the towns that we work with. It's generally, we share our side of it. Might be where I think with the last 5 that we've done, I think where they were $25,000 a piece, and that's it. And so it's not like we're not looking for $500,000, and we're not looking to build these for cell carriers, and then where the towns are paying the freight, so that's the cell guys are happy, and off of 3 or 4 towers, we'll have a few people have connection. So now we're going to touch into, and this is where literally the rubber meets the road as far as what Jessica and I and Nate put together for this, is I'm now on the coverage breakdown, and this we can go through rather quickly. Brower Road and T, charter coverage on Glidden Drive. It's also close proximity to 2 towers. We currently have a good deal of customers on with current carrier grade hardware. Refer to the map, we've already done that. We've also provided the charter coverage map that they provide to the PSC. And while the PSC isn't accurate 100%, it does acknowledge that charter basically covers Glidden Drive and 57. So there's no need for us to put more resources that we can put somewhere else. Double H and Whitefish Bay. This is the tower that DCB was previously on and has stepped off on for obvious reasons. And the obvious reasons go into the weeds on our end. Safety is the number 1 thing for our climbers. All of our guys that climb for us are certified climbers. And I'm never going to talk about someone else's tower. This is an FM radio station tower, and those are issues in and of themselves. But that's not the predominant issue. There are other issues, and we have. I will not allow any of our climbers to climb that tower. I will not. We are actually in the process of, we're 1,200 feet away, we're relocating to a different transmission site. I mean, talk about expensive, because I've got equipment on that tower that I can't go get. So we're gonna do a complete rebuild, 1,200 feet down the road.
Kevin?
Yes,
Was
ma'am.
that equipment down there from the company that you purchased?
That's equipment
Yeah.
that we purchased from the company down there. These are assets that we purchased that
Right.
we can't go get.
Yeah, I just wanted that explained for
Oh,
those that
yes.
don't know that you may.
Thank you,
that's
I
okay.
apologize.
Yeah. No.
The Clarksville vertical bridge site, this sits within a mile of an existing Door County Broadband tower site that provides a service already to an existing large customer base. We have ongoing relationships with Vertical Bridge. Their site, as far as availability goes, is actually inferior to the tower that we're in the process of building. We have a site that we are already under contract to build, and it was built for cell carriers, and their height is it's 70 feet under what ours is. So for us to be sitting at 120 feet when we're going to be at 190 on ours, we're going on ours. So due to the height limitations and high demand, God bless you. We have a contract in place for a new tower, and that engineering has already begun for the tower. So we have engineering that goes with the tower, and then we have engineering that goes with the equipment. So our 2 companies get together, they design, and literally this tower is built for us, specifically for the equipment that they engineer for it. So this is not stuff that we just throw up on there. This is done as a tag team, and we get the 2 companies working together. But this will allow us to provide additional height coverage and allow for more service upgrades. Bechtel Road, we do currently have tower coverage east of this location, as well as coverage from transmission sites south on the terminus of Bechtel. That's Exhibit A, which you guys have already in your document. Clark Lake, this is an old location, which Dan and I spoke about a little bit ago. That's an old site that we have to replace, and as I said this morning, that was done. And so we are tickled, that just tickles us something fierce to be able to do that. And then lastly, in Door County, one of the sites was designed as a Sunny Slope site. We've been trying for 6 years to get on that transmission site. 6 years. We have met with previous administration, current administration, and literally it came down and they flat out said in June of 2020, and the answer was no. So when we saw that they were going on there, we put a call into a half dozen people we know at the county, and they said, no one has even asked us about that site. So we don't know what you're talking about. No one's going to go on that site. We've already told you that. I said, well, my concern is that we were told that site was submitted, and they said, not by us, it wasn't. And I said, I'm not here to say if it was or wasn't. I'm just asking you because if we missed something, let us know. As you know, we've been trying to get there since 2014. And their concern is the emergency management system. So they don't want any interference at all, and they said we would just soon keep it underutilized than put more on there and have a potential issue. And guys, honestly, that's all we got. And it's not difficult. I just don't want to see the town spend a bunch of taxpayer dollars to replicate what you basically have. And my concern is we do live here, and 3 or 4 sites, of which I think 2 or 3 of them we're already on, not counting the other 7 that we have already in the area that we're in the process of building and going forward to. This is our home. Our home isn't Green Bay. Our home isn't south of Green Bay. Our home isn't building for, Bug Tussle admits it. They build cell towers. That's who their customer is AT&T. That's not news to anybody. Everybody knows it. And internet's a byproduct. It's not a byproduct to us. This is our business. This is all we do. And I'm just going to be I'm very proud of our company, and I think we do it pretty darn well. And the neat thing is, we're down the road. You want to come see us? Come knock on our door. We just made a massive investment in our current location in a brand new building with a brand new 190-foot, that tower I was telling you about. You can come by and say hi, to give you a tour of the building, as well as you can walk up and touch and kick. Don't kick it too hard, but you can come up and look at the tower, look at how we build them. You can see how we do stuff, and you're more than welcome to, because there's nothing like, I can talk about this till I'm blue in the face, but to walk out and go, that's it. You can look at it, you can come in our shop and we'll show you the radios we use. They're in stock. You can come look at them. So this is something that we do. So that's all I've got. I'm open for questions, comments, any of the above.
Go ahead.
Okay, so going with that coverage with future sites map on the presentation,
I'm sorry, which one?
the coverage of future
Yes,
sites.
yes, sir.
So now, for example, Clark's Lake's all lit up, is that with the 2 towers?
That is just with the one right
Just
now.
with the one, so
Yeah.
we're not talking about any of the town of Sevastopol?
Not in this, we're not.
Okay. All right, because I was just trying to figure out where along the highway, if you kind of swap between the 2 maps of what your approximate coverage currently in your future site, there is a little bit of extra blurb on the future site along the highway. I was just wondering what tower or what area, basically, how did you get the extra?
Well, because when you put a tower up,
Right.
what you do, you put 4 clusters on it that are each 90 degrees. So when you get the height, as you're sitting up there, you get that entire ring.
Right.
And that is so, I'm sorry? Oh, I may not have heard your question.
I guess my question is, when I asked, I said, does this include the possible, whatever, proposal or, like, working with the town-owned
Yeah.
properties? If these future sites are included, because
No.
that's what I'm getting at, because I don't know, because like right here, between the 2 maps of the current and the future, where's this tower then that's adding the extra coverage next to the highway? Like, on which map is that on? I guess I was a little confused.
Okay, this,
Does that make sense?
I believe I understand what you're saying. So this transmission site here,
I'm actually talking more by the highway.
okay. Okay, this location here, this is just where, we we desire to be we don't have anything in this area.
Okay.
Our goal is, if
Where
we
the
can-
circle is.
Yes, I'm looking for something in the circle. So if I have someone that has land anywhere, because what the circle does is that it would light up, and I don't care if it's outside of Sevastopol or in Sevastopol, it will light up this area at 190 feet. Those are those ones like I have right next to our office.
Right, but outside the circle, if you go down just a little bit, that green patch right there does not exist on the other map.
Gotcha. Hang on a minute.
So where is that that service coming
Where's
from?
that coverage coming out of?
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say, what tower is that?
Now I got you. I understand what you're saying. I don't know the answer to that because I didn't bring all the backup documents to this. This is all done in a program, and I do not know the answer to that question, if this is one, because there should be nothing on here. We do not make the presumption that we would do those sites.
Okay,
So that is
because
not
that
in our
kind
presumption.
of look like that tower.
And can I tell you something?
Yeah,
It does to me, and I have to now, I will have an answer for it, and I'll have that back for you tomorrow.
okay.
Because I don't know, if I can kind of give you a handle on the stuff we've got going on, it is, I mean, like I said, we're up to 20 tower builds, so I know where we're doing it, but I've got a lot of staff that keeps these all going, so I will have, and I don't have this.
Okay.
So I will have this for you tomorrow.
Well, you show on your document that you have Rural Institute where you have 2 tower assets that sit in an adjoining. Is that by chance any of that area? You refer to it as Rural Institute? I guess
Yes.
what would be helpful at some point is if you gave us a detailed map with tower locations versus just a dot, you know,
Basically,
so we understand a little better.
you generally don't see that in the industry, is where they'll basically geocode a location only because you just don't. If a company wants to, so I understand what you're saying.
You know,
If someone wants to drive around and find our sites, God bless them, we will not go out of our way to broadcast our transmission sites. So that's something that no one does. No one goes out of their way to broadcast private transmission sites.
Well, when you, and maybe on that future map, I don't know the answer, but you mentioned here the triangle that we own. So I'd be most curious to understand, if you mentioned you reside on existing towers, there's, I think it's a US cell tower on the
US
top of
Cellular
it.
won't let us on. We've already tried.
Is that a US cell tower?
If that's US Cellular,
On top of the hill in Belmy? It's on your map, the Swampy Acres cell tower on the top of the hill, Whitefish Bay Road, right as you go up the hill on the right.
I will have to, we have a list of every cell tower site in the county. If it's either Cellcom/Vertical Bridge, or it's US Cellular. So it's one of the two. Neither one have, when they build for a cell tower, US Cellular, first off, we have a great relationship with, they won't let us on their towers. We've been asking for years. Their answers are no, that's reserved for cell. So these guys don't want our equipment on their towers.
Okay, I was trying to figure out why, if you were existing, that could be a potential site.
If we could get on one of those, well, they also come back. I'm sorry? Well, I was just gonna say, they can't say that they can keep us off because of co-location agreements, but their rents, like for example, we will pay American Tower, we're on 4 of their towers. Our average rent is about $1,000 a month for what we do. And a cell tower carrier will get $3,000 a month. So we couldn't afford that if we had to. So the answer is, sure, you want to be on there, it's $3,000 a month.
Okay.
And so we're not. So it becomes a function of math.
Okay, I have 2 questions, and one of them just shows my ignorance, and probably the other one too. But what do you want from us? What is it that the town of Sevastopol is going to do for you to give coverage to the residents of the town of Sevastopol?
Well, quite candidly, one of my biggest issues was I wanted you to hear our side of things so that the town, and I know the request was for the town of Sevastopol had to come up with a bunch of dough. And I don't believe it's necessary. I believe that Sevastopol has other things that it could be doing with that if they chose to. My take is to let the town know what we're capable of, not what we're capable of, what we've done, what we've got in the works to do. And outside of you guys coming in and coming in with us on a grant application, like some of the other towns have, nothing. I mean, we have the town of Bayless Harbor has stepped up, Town Liberty Grove has stepped up, and I think, like I said, their average, that you're seeing, some of the towns are smaller towns, they don't have resources to do anything, but they have land. But I mean, you're seeing $25,000 matches with us, and then with the state. So, we're into something, that transmission site's $50,000. Or $75,000, $80,000, and then we get 25, 50.
I mean, there are people in the town of Sevastopol who could contact you right now
Mhm.
and ask for coverage, or ask for service, is that correct, or no?
No.
Redo your, can you clarify your question? They could ask for service or say?
No,
can-
I mean, say, hey, I wanna get broadband from Door County Broadband.
Oh, they could do that now if they wanted to, sure. And that's all so anybody that wants service from us can call us. If we can get them service, which we have a lot of that's why we have 10 transmission sites serving Sevastopol.
Well, again, that's why I'm trying to get it, I mean, is it some land that the town of Sevastopol owns that you
Could be.
that you wanna put a tower on, is that?
Quite candidly, all I want the ability to do is to have the same relationship with Sevastopol that we have with all the rest of the towns that we do business with, which is that this is a public-private partnership in more ways than one. It's where the town steps up and literally says, hey, our residents need service. Where do we have holes? And it's like, for example, one town, like I said, Steve called and goes, I know him. I'll call him for you. We're now putting a transmission site up on there. Because somebody called, I called, and you guys don't know me from Adam, and I called going, hey, can we put up a transmission site here? Like, who in the heck are you? Why? Whereas one of you guys called and says, hey, this Kevin Voss guy is going to give you guys a call. It sure would help out the town. It's a warm intro, and if it can help us help the residents of Sevastopol, would do it in a second. So all we want is a relationship that allows us to do what it is we do. And if there's a grant application, to have the town step up, and either in one case, like I said, we had a town that said we don't have the money, but we have county land, our town land you can go on. That was their contribution, because we have to say all this stuff to the state. The state doesn't want it to just have a letter come in going, hey, here, hey, we love what these guys are doing. As the state put it, everybody's got to have skin in the game. So they come out, and the ones that are just saying, we have a piece of ground you can put it on, we have to do a whole present value calculation on that so that we can show this is their imputed value of that, to show that there is some skin. So it's something where, because our goal is to make the town look good, a lot of towns have put together their tech funds, their technology councils, say, we budget 25 grand a year for expansion, and then we just roll that, and that's fine too.
Paul, let me just stop for a minute and try and frame from my perspective why we're all sitting here a little bit. And it kind of goes back to the starting point, I think, was the comprehensive plan update that we did. Either the number one or number two item that came up from the comprehensive plan was, I need high-speed internet. I need broadband access. And so we identified that as, after it hit us in the head, we figured out that that's something they needed. And then along comes COVID, and we hear a lot of noise from the school and access for virtual learning, and this only compounds the problem. And then the other issue is that as a town, we have been the leader in Door County, literally, by having a public access television station, only one of two communities other than Sturgeon Bay that has that. We were the first to have a website. We're broadcasting on YouTube. So we have tried to be very transparent about open government and get our community involved. And so my bottom line focus was always to kind of get at that last point, and the other two, fill those as well, to try and expand the ability of our townspeople to participate in government. So that's kind of what led us to where we're at. I don't know at this juncture where it's going next, what the next step is. That's part of the committee's piece. We can do grants. We go do grant applications. We can take a look at budgeting funds. We do that. We start that process in October and finish in November. So there's opportunities, obviously. We have to figure out where they are. I think Kevin needs to give us some more information, help us with the coverage areas so we have a better understanding and what we're talking about. If we invest or partner or whatever, and we go to one or two sites, are we gonna significantly impact our community? I mean, are we gonna get a bang for the buck? Are we gonna get 25% more of our community that we're not today? So we need to kind of understand those things. And if they make sense, then Gene's committee would work through the process of saying, here's what we need to do and when, and, you know, try and get that in there. I'd also tell you that I'd want to involve the school in this. We have a member from the school that wasn't here tonight, but they're also a driving factor. They're paying, as you well know, for, what they buy, 30 or 40 hotspots.
30.
The
Kyle's
school's
only
already,
30.
the school's already, they contacted us and said, what do you need from us to help you?
Right.
So we're all over it.
Yeah, and we haven't sat down with the school other than the one gentleman that's on our committee, and so we need to focus those resources and see what's up and see what we can impact. So that's kind of my perspective on it from a chairman's viewpoint, what I'm trying to achieve, and I'll leave Jean and her committee work through it.
We can handle it.
I have a second question.
But that's all right, go right ahead.
I live on Glidden, and I have Spectrum high-speed internet. I don't have cable TV, I have high-speed internet. I don't know, it's a bundle thing. Anyway, let's say I pay $80 a month for that. How do you compare with that to your customers?
Well, we will gladly charge you $80 a month. I'll match it.
No, I mean, what do you, I'm, you know, I got computers and
Yep.
streaming and all of that going on.
Well, I'll put it this way, for that same $80 a month, you are gonna find, the interesting thing that's occurring in the industry is that the control of TV, as we've all known it, is by about a dozen companies, control them all. That's why you get 700 stations, is that if you want ESPN, you negotiate for ESPN, and then to take it, you gotta take the other 100 in your charge farm, so they build this together. That's all going à la carte. You're seeing it with all the sports and everything else going on. You want history, you pay for history. You want ESPN, you'll pay for it. You want baseball, you pay for baseball. Everything's going à la carte, and that will be streamed through your internet.
Right.
Now, on our $80 plan, you will be able to, so there's two things that go along with all of this. A lot of it is customer education. The simple reality of it is there are people with their $80 plan that they're streaming 2 devices. They're streaming laptops, they've got iPads, they have phones. I can't keep this thing on, I'm sorry. They got a couple phones, couple iPads, laptops going, TVs, the whole kit and caboodle. And they do fine. 2 things that are coming also where I mentioned earlier, and this is a little rabbit trail back to the one comment I made about the average person right now uses 280 to 300 gig a month. Expectation is, according to the trade industry, was that is because basically what's changing is that all these 4K TVs and screens and stuff, if you getting into the weeds, which I had to have one of my geeks explain all this to me, but in a nutshell, this TV movie, and there's so little that's 4K to begin with anyway, but what little is out there, the amount of bandwidth that it takes is obscene. And that they're having to put into place mechanisms that allow, because basically this new smart TV, it's smart enough to say, I've got this much internet, and it will then say, I want all of it, because it makes me look really, really good. And I don't care about your iPhone going, excuse me, I want all of it to make me look really, really good. So Samsung is going, my Samsung TV wants it all, your iPhone, your iPad, your computers, your everything wants it all. So what's happening is you're now having to get into, which is what we do, is some bandwidth management saying you can't have all that. You know, Netflix wants it all. Hulu wants it all. Everybody wants it all so that their programs, so you go, well, I love Netflix because they're never down. Well, that's because they're grabbing everything. So there are some things that are happening. It's a little Wild Westy right now a little bit, but in answer to your question, you're not going to have an issue with that. What's going to be happening across the board, everybody is going to be doing bandwidth management where they're going to be saying to Netflix, you can't have everything. And if you have a Netflix connection, you're going to have to share because you have two different stations you're pulling from that are maybe in different parts of the house. Or if you have voice over IP telephones, that gets priority and that gets the first 5%. So these things all come in and there's this balancing. So
But my fundamental question is, how competitive are you with Spectrum?
you know what? I honestly don't know because from my perspective, we don't compete with them that much.
He's not trying to grab your charter.
No, I
business.
understand that. What
Yeah.
I'm-
So he's
I'm-
priced the
what
same.
What I'm trying to get at is to the people who don't have access to Charter Spectrum.
Paul,
Yeah.
I might be able to help.
Pardon me?
I'm a Door County Broadband customer,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Well, then you can.
And I live on the escarpment. And so when we built our house 4.5 years ago, we were like, the charter ended an eighth of a mile away. And I knew that wasn't going to happen. So then we contacted their company and I knew nothing about really Door County Broadband. And I said, so we need internet service. Can you do that? And they said, well, let's check it out. And they could, thankfully. And so I have been a very happy Door County Broadband customer. I pay somewhere around $75 a month, I think, we do.
We're charging 80.
Yeah, okay. Well, it may get there with taxes, I don't know. Somewhere in that neighborhood we pay. But, so
Know
now,
what you might get me for $70?
so we have a desktop and an iPad. We have Dale's on a county board, so he's got that computer for that. I have the laptop for the town. Sometimes there's 4 devices, and, sometimes you're on your phone with your email instead
Yeah.
of being on a different device. And in addition to that, we stream Netflix. Now, I've had many conversations with Jess, trying to understand the whole concept, because it really was all new to me, and she's helped me get educated as well as some other folks have. But when I told her, she must have looked at my account, okay, when I'm talking to her. And she said, well, whatever level I'm at, she said, you can stream Netflix? And I said, well, I don't mind if that little circle goes round and round for a little while, as long as it comes up. And sometimes I have to give it extra encouragement to say, come on, you can do it. And sometimes, it comes up very quick. So it just kind of depends, but I can do it. So right now, it's working for me having that. And our router was hit by, we had a lightning strike, the router went out during this whole COVID thing, and your office is closed, but we called and they said, come pick up a new, they checked everything out, come pick up a new router, it'll be outside the building. So we pick up a router and we plug it in. So I can speak to personal experience with Door County Broadband in that their people have been very good about responding to any issues I have and following up on things. So that I can speak to, because I think that's kind of what you were asking, is
Kinda.
how's the coverage? Well, you were asking
I want to know
about
how much it
coverage.
costs.
So
$80 for you.
No, I'm serious.
It's gonna be the same.
If I could-
It'll be the same,
It's
but
the
the other
same.
side is, if you don't have it, you'll pay damn near anything to get it.
That's
No,
right.
but that's what
That's
I'm getting
That's,
at.
that's really the bigger,
I'm not talking about for me.
right, because, and for you, you've got this cable connection and it's delivering through a
Right.
4-foot diameter
Yeah.
pipe and it's jamming stuff so fast, he'll never compete to that.
No.
It's not that he's gonna trade
No, they
customer
can't.
bases, and that's what he's saying. It's not who we are. He doesn't.
And that's
I
the
could-
point I was
Right.
making with what I'm paying.
But I mean, we have residents who, probably a lot of our residents who do not have high-speed or adequate, let's call it that,
What we're talking
broadband,
about.
also
I mean,
are not the
we-
wealthiest residents either.
No.
And so, you know,
If I could speak a little
Sure.
bit to, I'm Pam Voss with Door County Broadband. Just to maybe answer that question a little bit more specifically, so we have different plans. We don't have any contracts, so you're not bound into, locked into a plan. Our lowest plan is, I think, $55 per month. And I think we do a really good job of, educating our customer, because sometimes we get people here, it's notorious, we get people here from the big city, from California, well, I had 100 down and blah, 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 and 12 is not going to be enough, and lo and behold, 12 is, they may have been told that they were getting 100 down, but maybe they were only using 10 of that. So the fact that you can get 100 down doesn't really matter too much. It's really what you need to operate all those devices. So we do a lot of education, we do a lot of asking questions and trying to discern what type of plan would be best for you. I always say the customer that is a single person that just gets on for Facebook and online banking is very different than the family of 6 with gamers and schooling and parents working from home. So we try to assess that and then kind of point you to a plan. Now, some people want to start with a lower plan and see if it works, and if they can call in 2 weeks, a month, or as their needs change and say, hey, can I go up to the next level? They get bumped up. There's no penalties. So I think I don't know specifically with Spectrum what their plan is and if there's any penalties or you're locked in anywhere, anything like that, contract. We did get rid of contracts a couple of years ago. We also do not throttle, so a lot of other companies, you hit a max, you hit that, whatever it was, 1020, you are slowed way down. It makes it painful.
okay, you don't do
We do not do that. We have no caps, no data caps, so you we have probably a handful of customers that really, really, really push that. And we've talked about, should we have a really super upper limit, because we have some gamers that just kill us. But we do not have any data caps, and we don't throttle or anything like that. One of the other things I'd like to mention, just from our perspective, when you say, what are you looking for from us? I can just tell you that when customers call, we are seeing, a lot of people are moving here. People our age, people a little bit younger, they've realized they can work remotely, and it's beautiful up here.
I know.
And especially with
It's what I
the
do.
unrest in the country right now, we have seen during COVID and the unrest, a lot of people moving up here, they want out of the big city. Because COVID happened, they were able to work from home, their kids were able to do school remotely. They no longer had to be wherever they were. So
Right.
we've seen, our inquiries are up 300%. We were never out more than a week for scheduling, and I just finished scheduling today into October with the 56 customers that we had waiting. It's been insane, and we don't see it letting
I moved up
up.
here before I retired, and I could not have done it.
Yeah, so we.
Unless I had high-speed internet.
Right, and we also have, prior to COVID, it was very common, especially in the summer, you'd have people come up that had rentals,
Yeah,
and their
yeah.
idea was, it's Door County, get out and get in a kayak and go for a hike, you're not here for the internet. And what they were failing to realize were the people calling us saying, I have to have internet, I'm coming up to vacation,
But
I can work and vacation, it's what's allowing me to
I
take
did that
a
too.
vacation, so.
with dial-up.
Yeah, really. So that's just kind of our perspective. So when you ask what are you looking for from us? Really just, if there's the PSC grant or, grants that we can partner together, just that you would understand who we are and what we're trying to do, and that we care. I mean, one of my biggest things is all these students that we get we get it all the time. Students, they don't have internet. They have great internet at school and they go home. And they are at a disadvantage with the rest of the kids
That's right.
across the country.
Exactly.
When they can't go home and do their homework.
Yeah.
See, and if I can jump on that note real quick, that has been a dialogue issue by me to our county for over 5 years, which is, you're doing a great job in schools. What are you doing about them at home? And the comment was, that's your job. And I went, we don't work for the county. So we're doing the best we can, but we don't have county dollars, we don't have county anything. We're doing this the best we can because we see these kids. We would have these kids intern with us, and then they would then go, one of them went down to Milwaukee, and this young man he interned with us between junior, senior year, and then after he graduated, he went down to Milwaukee to go into engineering. He lasted 1 semester and said he was blown by like he was standing still because he couldn't keep up from the, and it irritates me to no end because my concern is the brain drain that could occur to this county.
Yeah.
Is that if we make this, but our sole goal, and guys, I'm not trying to be crass about this, I'm really not, we didn't come up here to do this, but we have, as my wife and I talk about, because I work more hours now than I did back when I was developing. We were in 3 states, good grief, and but what's interesting is when we see the progress that we're making with the families. So we went from under 700 families to where we're just under 3,000 homes that now have internet. 3,000 homes times the statistical numbers for a household family size. That's a lot of people in Door County. And we are so proud of that fact. Are we done? No. That's why we keep building towers.
Gene, can I get a question in here?
Sure.
Do you want Sevastopol to opt out on this 120-foot tower height? Or whatever Dan was talking about?
I'm gonna make this, I'm telling, this thing drives me nuts. From my perspective, the towns that we're working with that have opted out have all adopted pretty generic tower ordinances. And the only reason it makes sense from our perspective is I don't have to worry about any hoop jumping because somebody calls us with a transmission site, boom. Like for example, Bailey's Harbor, textbook situation.
So that's, simply put, that's a yes. You would
Well,
like us to opt out.
But there's a qualified yes.
Well, let's
okay?
get to it.
I can't tell you whether I like it, would prefer you to. My simple answer is yes, because guess what? You're making life easy on me. I can put Sevastopol in the pile of towns that we are working with that do all the same thing, and we don't have to change anything. If all of a sudden, if we don't do that, I now have to, we gotta slow down, stop the bus, figure out what, does this qualify, doesn't, and for me, it's tough.
Okay, let me get to the next question. I'll take that as a yes, I'm thinking.
Let me come back.
Well, come around, let me get a few
Go ahead.
questions in here
It's all
before
right.
everybody bounces all over me.
No.
I'm presuming in 20 years from now, we probably don't need all these towers for technology reasons and so on down the line. What is, I assume somehow or another, these probably are gonna have to come down. How do we do that, or how does that happen? You own the tower, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, how does that, what's the provision for that?
Our tower contracts are the same way we put it up, you come take it down.
So you escrow money someplace to make sure it's gonna happen,
We don't
or?
escrow anything. If I have it, because this is what, I try to explain this to the county. For me to leave a tower up that becomes an attractive nuisance at some point because it needs to be decommed and it's still sitting there, take a wild guess who's liable for that? Me. All right? So you think I'm gonna leave a tower up? We put more protection on these towers to keep kids off them and stuff so that because of liability. I'm gonna carry the liability insurance that I carry on every single tower that we're opening on, and I'm gonna have one that we're gonna decom, and I'm just gonna leave it up. And I'm gonna maintain that liability?
Okay.
No. No.
The next question is, and I think you kind of answered it, but the thing I hear from people that have good, what I presume is good internet complain about this streaming situation. Now, I'm like you, I don't know squat. But I was at a person's house on Alaska, of all places, La Crosse. They're sitting on Charter, probably with the best speed available, and the thing locks up.
Can I share with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Most of these companies, and we know we're one of the very few. You always see that number, and the number is actually up to. So we have a customer that we just installed that had a 300 by 100 Charter connection. Excuse me, up to 300, up to 100. They were getting 16 up. Okay, so what ends up happening is the up twos, and I'm not even gonna get into, because I don't want somebody now calling me and whatever else, but basically, this just happened to be their case, and we installed them as a new customer. And they went on our, I think our 12 plan. And their comment was, so they were getting 16, but our 12 is so clean. Our goal is, if you're signing up for 12, or for 16, or for 25, if you're not hitting, and the thing is, we teach you how to do it, which isn't just check your phone. But you put a computer in the back of the router, turn everything off, and then you run your test. That's how you test them, because that way there's no bleed off. But basically, it all comes down very simply to, if we're not hitting the numbers we're telling you, because guys, this is, and Jeannie, I'm to be honest with you, we're out and about this county all the time, and I want to be able to be in a restaurant and see every single one of you. If I could see your faces, I know who you were. But to be able to say hi, and hopefully you guys are all doing great, and to have you guys go, the guy does what he says he's going to do. And if you're 12, you're smack dab pretty darn close to it.
Here, I think what I'm trying to get clear in my own mind is, Charter, you use the illustration of, you got 6 kids in the house and they're all doing something,
That's true.
okay? Not my house, but, so everybody's using up, and you use the illustration of Samsung TV, wants all of it, and so you throttle that down somehow, okay?
We manage
And you're doing the same thing as what Charter's doing. The point being is, when you put a bunch of people, if you get successful in this spot of Sevastopol, how do you stop that from happening? Other than cranking it down. Can you put newer equipment in there to speed it up, or what?
You're getting kind of confused and,
Well, let him answer it.
oh, sorry.
Okay, no, it's, you're kind of crossing a few things, okay? But to
Okay.
kind of uncross them and keep them, one thing you're talking about, we don't do the same thing Charter does, okay? And what Charter does basically is not how we operate. Everything we operate is coming off of, we have a platform that manages how much data. And quite candidly, if all of a sudden, which has happened during COVID, all of our data usage has gone up, we literally can flip a switch and we buy more pipe.
So in theory, that complaint should never, ever happen.
I have learned a long time ago, when this used to be blonde, that I can never say never ever. Can I
Well,
tell you that it'll never ever
remote.
happen? Can I never tell you that Gene's never gonna see the little spinning wheel of death? The reality is, on occasion, you might. The simplicity of it is this. If we're-
Everybody's going to.
Yes.
Okay.
If we're doing our job right, we keep our pipe, because here's what happened. This is the one, if you want to call it, I'm going to throw one negative, there aren't many, but one negative with Door County. When we have to buy our pipe, which we buy from 6 vendors, to make sure we have plenty of it in the event we can reroute, we have to buy above our peak, which is July and August. The rest of the year, this is like a mountain. We don't use any of this, and we have to pay for it, because they don't go, well, you only need it for a couple of months. It's up to here, it's there until next year. So we always stay on top of it. So literally, we have had to do, what do we do, 5 upgrades so far on fiber this year? We normally do 2. We do one right before June, July comes, because our program forecasts out based off of last year into this year. We're short, buy it now. I don't want a problem experiencing what you're experiencing. I don't want that phone call. I don't want to be sitting in a restaurant going,
Okay.
Kevin, you know, but if we've done our job, am I gonna guarantee you that it never, never, ever happens? I can't, I would love to, but I can't. No one can.
Okay. The other
Yes.
thing as well is that on each tower, some companies will oversell. So if each piece of equipment can handle X amount of
Yeah.
people, some people will oversell that. We don't oversell it. So that if everybody gets on at the same time, now that's when you start having problems. People say, oh, it got really slow on the weekends. Our
exactly.
internet should not be doing that at all. And so if somebody calls with that complaint, we can get in, our techs can get in and see what's going on. And we can say, which might be the case with Jeannie I wanted to bring up, was that if you're seeing, we never want you to see that circle. We don't want you to have to encourage it, but there's different things that you can do. So calling into our office, they'll be able to tell you, you're pegging your connection, you're using that entire pipe, or no, you're not, what's going on? And they can do some troubleshooting. They may say, you've got 13 devices on between your 2 phones, 2 iPads, 3 computers, and we had a customer, I love this example, he was gonna add another 40 feet to a personal tower he had because his internet had gotten so slow, and he was so frustrated. And he finally, we said, call in to tech support. So he calls in, and I always say, we can't see what you're doing with your internet, but we can see how many devices are
We can see
connected.
what's pulling it.
And what's pulling it, and maybe one device is using all of it. And they said, well, we can see there's a Maddie's iPad connected that is using all of your data and has been going 24 hours a day. And he's like, Maddie? It was his 10-year-old daughter who had Andy Griffith shows running continuously
She had 25
on
of them.
YouTube. Like, she had them all
She just
open,
fixed
they
it,
were
stay
just
up.
running continuously. Turned it off, whoop, his internet went right back up. So there's different things as to why people are maybe experiencing that. It can be the big pipe that Kevin mentioned, it can be that a specific tower has been oversold by
Well,
another
I think
company.
the biggest comment is what you're trying to avoid in your business model, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Is the quality of service, not just that you're gonna get service.
Right.
Well,
I'm really on your side, might not sound that way, but
Well, we take the calls, and I tell you, we've been on you don't want to be on the other end of the calls where somebody's really unhappy and they're blaming you, but we usually can work through,
Okay.
everything. Now, when that peak happens, nobody expected COVID. Did we hit that peak? We did. And we had to buy
We did 3
more.
times.
Yeah,
We're
so,
like, where's this coming from?
so at those times, people were experiencing that. And, again, out of our control, but we remedied it, I think, pretty quickly.
We actually had to change one vendor because their answer was, well, we can increase it, but we can't get to you because we're backed up, we can get to you in 6 months.
Wow.
And I said, I need it today. We changed the vendor because of that,
Yeah.
and we had it within, I think, 72 hours. So it is that critical to us because this is real simple. Pammy runs the entire operation side of thing. All of the people that she has trained take those calls. And we hear about it. So if there is an unhappy customer, that comes right to us. We try and identify why. And it literally was a gentleman called today, give you an example of this. He's a part-time resident up here, he comes out of Chicago. And he comes up and he has been complaining for 5 years about his internet. He has 3 teenagers. We sent him a picture of his connection. Normally your connection, you see it going up and down like this. His is a solid blue block, which means there's nothing left. He's using all of it. And we've tried explaining that to him now for 5 years. And his answer was, it's our fault. We can't fix that. We can't. You've got 26 devices on, truly, 26 devices.
You need to plan up.
You've got a plan, and his answer is, but I'm not here that much. We can't help you. You can't walk in a home, turn on 26 devices, have our slowest plan, and expect to have everybody be streaming stuff. And we've been telling you for 5 years, you need a better plan. I mean, you have 3 homes. You have your Florida house, your Chicago house, you got this house, and you're complaining to us over $15 a month for a better plan. And at one point, I almost debated about giving them to him because he bugged our staff so much.
I'm sorry I called. I need to back up just for a second and regarding your one comment, Paul, which is the issue is with the town, if we decide to get out of Chapter 14,
yeah,
is we then assume all responsibility at the town level for any towers that go in our town. And that's the
Yep.
gating
Yep.
factor, and that's the underlying issue that we have to figure out. Do we want to do that? And, you know, if nobody comes along with a cell tower in the next 2 or 3, 4, 5 years, terrific. But if Cellcom, US Cellular, and Verizon all show up and want to put an application in, all of the burden that comes with it that is normally done by the planning department falls to the town.
That's why I wanted to make sure we were clear as to what was happening there.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, I'm not saying I'm adverse to it or for it, but as part of the process that we go through, that'll be a call made by the board, and that'll be
Well,
something
we
that
need to
committees will
put it
have
on
to
the-
get into and say, here's the pitfalls or the
Right.
opportunities, and, you know, do one offset the other, so.
Dan, can I bring up something you brought a while ago, and something you said just triggered that. Your comment earlier was, and this is about the town, so I'm gonna share something with you. It is our expectation and that's what we will have, whoever will be the ones doing this. We can actually sit down in our office and we can pull up a transmission site that we're proposing. It'll tell us how many prospective homes we can actually hit.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't tell us how many will buy our service.
Oh, that's a different
but it's-
story, but-
It'll
right.
say, this covers this many units. Every tower, because that's the model I built for me, if I'm gonna spend money, I wanna know what our returns are gonna be, and that's what keeps us in business. So the point is, we're not gonna come to you and just say, we've already identified that we're gonna put these towers in, and this is your deal. My first question would be, says who? We're gonna sit down and say, hey guys, here is this location that we picked, this is gonna impact, I'm gonna make this up, 76 households, and if we put this one in. If we put this one, and then the feedback can very simply be, well, can't you move this, like what we came up about before with the one mapping? What's this over here gonna do? If we did that, well, let's turn those off, let's put this on, and you can see what that is.
Right.
Because our goal is not to have, so when we come out for an installation, we walk up to your home for an installation, it's not to go, no, you got one tower, we're gonna shoot between those 2 pine trees, and I can, right there, I want one here, and I want one here. Because that means that I'm rolling a truck, I have a higher install rate if we should, that's why we're looking for on the lake, one on both ends, because one's doing this, and I can get either one of them. We will make them redundant and spend that money, but then it picks up everything around them too.
Yeah.
So our goal is, this is not, Kevin comes in and says, here's what you guys have to have. Kevin's gonna come in and sit down and go, okay, here's our ideas, here's how we see this propagating, what do you guys think? And you guys, having the firsthand knowledge of your town and your conversations, are gonna say, this over here is, we're guessing where we're seeing holes.
Right.
And we want to, but you may say, nobody's addressing this spot right here. We do have transmission sites that have 6 people on them. And the town said, it's so important for us to get that, tell us what we have to do, because this is a dead-end road, what do we have to do? Here's our thoughts.
Okay.
And so this is not a, it's the guy behind the curtain like in the Wizard of Oz, and then it's a yes or no. This is a
Right.
two-way street across the board, and if your answer is, that's your idea, what that is, that's not covered enough, we're not interested. I understand that too. But you will have every number, because we can't pledge the numbers. The computer spits them out going, here's how many houses you're gonna touch. That's all I want.
Right.
And that's all shared with you.
That's fine.
Or not with you, with whoever you set your
Right.
team up to be.
Okay.
And that's critical to us.
No, I agree, that would scratch our itch, so, I mean, and that's the objective, so, no, that's good.
So Derek has a question.
So, related to that, and that's, I guess my question is, so years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I had service through you guys, had it for about 3 years. I was stuck on the analog service because we couldn't get line of sight. So I was barely getting 3 down, sometimes 1.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised you got 3.
I was able to get Netflix, but that was because I was using a Roku player.
Okay.
Roku player has
Yeah.
better data management
Yes, it
than
does.
an Apple TV.
They're great.
So, however, on that note, I mean, I know I was on a list for you guys had plans of building towers up on all these other places and so on and so forth. You tried really hard to try and get line of sight service for me. I mean, I guess that's one reason why the triangle sounds really good, because I'm on the next block.
Okay.
So,
Well, don't let these guys know that, but talk to them.
I'm just being honest. But I do know a lot of my neighbors, like, seriously, that's what the biggest thing is. I mean, most of us are on cell phone service for internet, data capping, especially with the school, the kids being home at school. I mean, I guess my question is, I know I was on that list, but even though I'm no longer a customer, am I still on the list for one? Do you have a list of people that, you know, once you get these services up, prospective, you know, is there something like, not necessarily give the list out, but like, do you know, like, are you gonna be able to serve people, blah, 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 and stuff like that? This is how many people show interest if this happens, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I'll go high level, and then I'll let Tammy hit the weeds, because this is
Okay.
her world, but high level, basically, there's a contact management program that we use for all of our customers.
Right.
And if you're an existing customer, you're a nice little green dot. And then there's yellow dots and red dots. Red dots are failed installs, okay, and those stay in our system. So what happens is that when that green thing shows up, that will overlay on top of a new one, and it then basically spits out all these ones that were failed installs, and those are phone calls that happen instantly, that start with Tammy's staff. And they start calling saying, we just energized a tower in the area, are you interested in service? So Tammy, you jump in, because you're more in the mechanical side.
Yeah, Kevin pretty much answered the question, but we keep very detailed. So if somebody calls in and we know right off the bat we can't get service, they're listed as a certain, you know, service unavailable. If we go out and it's a failed, we can't get it, that's listed as something different. So all those different colored dots are on a map. It helps us say, wow, we really have a big area here where we've had failed installs. We need a tower there. Or when we do put a tower in, we can go back and look at all those customers, like Kevin said, and then start calling and say, hey, we've got a tower up now. Are you interested? You know, sometimes people have moved on to a different service, and other times they're still desperate, which is what we find a lot, because I always say everything that makes Door County beautiful is what makes it really difficult to get internet.
Right.
Trees, bluff, water, rocks, all of that.
Then, other question is, and again, we can't predict the future, even though I've been saying for years that we need internet expansion. I've been one of the few that have been very verbal about that in the county. My question is, say everything goes good. We decide to, whatever, make the deals with whatever land we have and so on and so forth. Time frame, how can we do it? Like, is it gonna be sometime next year? Like, as in like end of next year, December, or can we get something? Because here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, I hate to be Mr., you know, gloom and doom, but I keep saying to people for years, I'm like, there's gonna be a day we're gonna be begging for internet, and no one listened. And here we are, we're begging for internet.
Well, can I want to get that, because here's the one simple thing. If we're doing grant applications, right, those are due by a date, awarded by a date, and completed by a date. And the thing with the state, with the PSC, if you have a bus that drops the ball and doesn't complete, don't come back. So what happens is, right now, we have to finish by November the ones we got last year. Okay, and I think we're done, because I think we've got one left in Kiwani that we're wrapping up. They're doing soils on it, or they've already done soils, we're getting ready to pour foundation. And those have to be done and energized. All right, so here's the kicker. So our goal is, we're bidding towers right now. We're already into Q1 21, Q2 21 already. That's the build. We got 6 going now, 4 in the hopper, 6 behind it, that we're doing right now. And for a company that does that in the tower business, it's where we work. But we're not. We outsource all of this so we can stay focused on broadband expansion. So anything that we talk about now, what we would do is that we would sit down, and let's say we did this there's a new grant application due, and Jessica does this, and I don't know the dates. She is a rock star about all of this
Yeah, I've been
stuff.
talking to Jess about
Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we can get in on that grant application, you would be one of, I believe, like five or six towns that are also submitting right now too?
I think so.
I think we got 5 or 6 towns that are going in right now also, already have said, let's go. So, and if you guys go, we pull it together, you guys, we work as a tag team on doing it, we build the equipment list, you guys build the modeling for it, so on and so forth, and then we have to then, what I was just telling Dan, PSC, when they see this, I have to provide them a list of who am I touching, how many customers can I touch, and that is a driver to a yes or a no. Because there are people that came in and said it didn't hit enough people. And the PSC makes no bones about it. So this is critical data that we use. And the point of the answer is this isn't, we get this approved and go. It's kind of like what I was laughing about the roofers. You can always tell, during a storm, as long as I put a blue tarp on it, I own it until I ever get around to it. That's not the case here. I'm more worried about ticking the state off than you guys, because they'll kill us, if you understand what I'm saying. Because they're impacting not just Sevastopol at that point, they're impacting our ability to work with all the rest of these towns that we work with, so we've got a lot to lose. And I'm not looking to jeopardize that. Does that mean that this isn't important to me? Not at all. This is very important that I have a great relationship with all of you. However, is also, I've got a big hammer down there that could impact, if it's one of the other towns, it's gonna impact you too.
I wasn't saying like jump the line or anything.
I'm sorry?
I wasn't saying like jump the line or
With
anything.
that we
but
can't do. No, we don't let
But
it.
I'm just saying like,
Yes.
logically, like what we do now, when do we expect it, or so on and so forth.
Well, to give you an example, and this is what we're doing right now. If we were told, so let's say, for example, a grant application was approved today, and the dentist says, go. What we would do is that we would first then finish up, make sure we're all done on our side. We then we do a soil survey. So Brian goes out, does the survey, identifies what kind of soil base we have. That then goes to engineering, which engineers the tower. That process is basically, that's 4 months of just work. Now, they have to fabricate the tower. That's 6 to 12 weeks. More weeks. I then have to line up the excavation crews, the concrete crews, whatever else, during that time, because I can't put anything in the ground until the tower shows up. Because that's where all the equipment, that's where all the bases are. That shows up. I don't know if you guys have anybody, we're looking for trades, because they're backed up something fierce. So we've had trades that we've been saying, we've been waiting now for 6 months to get work done for us, and they're working their tails off. They're going 7 days a week to get caught up, and they're doing a great job, but everybody's behind. So you start, but the point is, and then we got the guys that stand them up, come out of Sun Prairie, and so we're on their list. So everybody's a list that we sit, and Jessica is my logistics. She's the one that basically plays this thing. So what may happen is, as that gets put in, we may all be sitting here kind of going, survey's been done, soils are done, tower's been ordered, equipment's been ordered, waiting for it to be manufactured, can't get in the ground until this date, and then they're gonna have 6 of them to do. And they get to them when they get to them, is we're on their list. We don't put anybody in front of anybody else. We haven't since the April 1st of 2014. I cannot tell you the number of friends go, hey, can you call my friend, or take care of my friend, put him ahead of anybody? Nobody goes in front of anybody for that exact reason. So we keep everybody in line. You will know where you are in the list. You'll know where you are. You guys get a report from us. It's the same report that we provide the state, which wants to know, where are you as far as percent of completion? What are you doing? How are you doing? And where are you with it all? And you guys are part of that chain.
Okay, I think we have a lot of work to do. Paul, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Kevin, for coming, and Pam, for doing the presentation, very much appreciated.
You're very welcome.
That was really our business for tonight. We need to talk about our next meeting. We need to have a meeting, I believe, we're probably going to be I'm going to be a taskmaster, because I think we have to, there's a lot of work we have to do.
Thank you.
Including,
We'll circle back with you. Yes.
including communications work, says I've asked Laddie to do an outline of what, and get it to me, so for what he's looking at for the communications side of this committee. And also, we have budget, we have budget issues that we need to go through that. So I think that we're gonna be busy on many Tuesdays. So I hope everybody's on board with that. So what I'm thinking is the 8th and the 15th. We can go back to our afternoon schedule, like our first meeting was, maybe about 2:15. Paul, that still works for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is everyone okay with that?
Give me 1 second, I'm checking.
It's okay with me.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be pretty important you get the Sevastopol guy here.
Yeah, Steve, yeah, and I was actually, there's some stuff that I learned about DPI and some survey things that apparently DPI was part of, and I just learned about that, and so I had a call into both Kyle, the administrator, and to Stephen to talk about it, and Kyle and I were playing telephone tag. So, yeah, so there's a lot of work to do, and a lot of things to discuss. So if that works for everyone, let's just go ahead and plan those 2 Tuesdays for sure. And with the knowledge that we may have to add more Tuesdays. We might be busy the entire month of
You're gonna start with
September.
budget stuff first, or?
I think we need to know what Laddie's looking at first, and I think the conversation I had with Amy, were we going to, at the next meeting, were we gonna provide them with kind of like worksheets on the budget, so you had a chance to look at, so you had a chance to look at what we need to do in regard to the budget?
Okay.
I'll spin through the process. I'll provide you
Yeah.
with last
And
year's
you-
numbers. And then you'll go through and look at what maybe the needs are, the wants are. And you'll put a number down, and then we'll all come back together and decide on one.
Right,
What time on that Tuesday?
2:15.
Okay, I mean, I work that day, but I can see if I can get that changed.
So
That's-
if we can stick to the 2:15, if that works for everyone on a Tuesday, with the idea that we may be extending to where we do every Tuesday in September, other than the first. We'll have a little time to digest what you learned tonight. And then do your comparisons. And we can talk about some things. I've actually gotten been doing a lot of talking and learning. So there's things that we, be able to share in that regard, and then we can have more discussion. So, if we're in tune here, I can ask for a motion to adjourn. Paul, motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
Second by Derek. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.